Hello. Check. 1, 2. Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Dan Lindsey. Welcome to the Freight Break, the flagship podcast of the Broker Carrier Summit, the BCS Freight Network, and your go-to podcast for navigating the freight industry. Each week, we interview some of the most incredible people that are making this industry the best it's ever been. And we got a fantastic guest for you today, Danielle Spinelli. Is she with My Carrier Portal? Is she with Descartes? We will talk about all of that. But before we dive in, you know what I'm going to say. I have to talk to the freight brokers. Freight brokers, yes, I know that you do not like operating out of 45 different tabs with 3 different browsers, 2 email accounts, and a partridge in a pear tree. I know that that is frustrating. I know that your tools are all over the place. Trust me, I've been there. I need you to stop, look up for a second, and listen to me. I've got something that you need to hear about. That is, yes, TIE TMS. TIE TMS is the next generation of TMS software that simplifies your workflow through end-to-end automation, saving you hours of manual work each and every week, like RFPs, like searching for carriers, like vetting carriers, all the tools that you jump back and forth and waste a bunch of time, again, going across different tabs and different browsers. TIE TMS can handle, exponentially boosting your efficiency. It also seamlessly integrates with all of those tools, so you're not jumping between them all the time, trying to keep all of your proverbial stuff straight. And the best part, it is designed specifically for freight brokers in mind. If you haven't called them yet, I don't even know what you're doing. Give them a call or go over to tie-software.com and see how they can help you transform your freight business. All right, everyone, we are a mere 35 days. No, sorry, correction, 33 days away from the best week in freight, the next episode of the Freight Revolution, whatever you want to call it, the Broker Carrier Summit in Indianapolis, Indiana, April 28th to May 2nd, my hometown, bringing it home. We have a fantastic week lined up full of not just the best networking and the most intentional networking or the most authentic networking, but also the most authentic and intentional breakout sessions, keynote sessions, learning labs, everything you want in a business seminar, business conference, trade show, whatever you want to call it. We have everything you don't want, we don't have. So if you want to come to a trade show or to a conference that helps you grow your business in practical ways, leaving more profitably than when you came, you need to join us in Indianapolis, April 28th to May 2nd for Summit Week. All right. Also, if you have not heard yet, we launched last month the Broker Carrier Summit's very own BCS Freight Network, the most trusted network in freight, not the biggest, but the most trusted. Go over to www.bcsfreightnetwork.com. Give us a look, see if this network is right for you. All right, everyone. Please welcome Danielle Spinelli to the show. Danielle and I have been friends for a couple of years now. Danielle, how are you today?
I'm great.
Very
Living
cool.
my best life here. I'm in Georgia, so the weather is beautiful. I've been sneaking out outside as much as I can and can't complain. So
yeah, and you are wearing the best, most certified shirt in freight. Look at that, everybody. Danielle is, of course, a certified non-scumbag, one of the OGs of the certified non-scumbag. Certified. I had to put certified in quotes. Yeah. I think if we put certified in quotes, we will actually be able to get that past the lawyers.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see. So how are you?
I'm good. Just been bouncing around conferences. I got Matt's this week, TIA, Broker Carrier Summit coming up. So busy couple of months here for me. So
yeah. Spring conference season is going out with a huge bang. So
yeah, definitely.
Very cool. Hey, real quick before we get into what we wanted to talk about today, just hot off the presses, I guess. Do you guys have a big announcement to make?
Yes.
You guys do something?
I know. I woke up today and here we are. We just acquired 3G TMS. So
Wow.
pretty exciting. I know. I don't know a ton of details yet. Like they sent out, a blurb to everybody in the company, but haven't heard all the ins and outs. But all I know is it'll be really exciting to have, another system that my care portal can like really integrate with and be very basically like seamless between, and same with MacroPoint. So big improvements coming that way. And then we'll be able to handle more of like the LTLs, the partials, the stuff like that, like our Aljex currently cannot handle. I think they're wanting to do that too, but we got 3G
Yeah.
now. So fun times.
Very cool. Well, and is this your guys' is this Descartes' first foray into the LTL market? There's so many things that you guys have going on over there. I have a hard time keeping track. So
Me too. Whenever I went to the innovation forum, which is like our summit, I think it was last October. They have 190 products. So I don't know.
good grief.
There's
Wow.
too many to keep up track with, but before I know we did not have like a LT. Like if somebody told me that they had LTL, we could handle a little bit, but if you had large volume, usually we would, push them over to one of our great partners. But I don't know how that will look now or really don't have a lot more information than what I said, but pretty exciting
Okay.
news now. So excited to learn more.
Yeah, very cool. And if you haven't heard that, guess what? You heard it first here on the Freight Break and the BCS Freight Network. So fantastic. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what 3G's inclusion in the Descartes umbrella does for their TMS capabilities.
Yeah.
Also, just to see what that means for Aljex. Aljex has obviously been in this space for a long time.
Right.
But if I may say so, I think 3G and Aljex represent two sides of the spectrum when it comes to interface, call it usability. I think when it comes to TMSs, so that'd be interesting to see what effect one has on the other, if any. So.
Yeah, I know 3G does a lot of the shipper stuff too, I believe. So that's something that Aljex doesn't do. And we have a large shipper network, especially with the MacroPoint stuff and my care portal being able to, help them out. So I think on the shipper side, it'd be like a whole network for them so that they're not having to shop around and they have a one-stop shop too. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to learn more and see what, especially the integration, like what we got coming into Aljex just from the acquisition of my care portal. I mean, like very seamless back and forth. Like our VIN verification is one button, and just really cool stuff that's coming that way. So I'm excited for 3G, and their team 3G's team is awesome. So I'm excited to be like officially coworkers.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's good people over there. I know a few people over there. So very cool. Well, if there's one word that I would use to kind of encapsulate Descartes, I think integrations would be the word. And not only Descartes in and of itself, but also the industry. Integrations is kind of a not a buzzword, but it's definitely a trend in the freight industry. Before we get into that, though, for those of the listeners and watchers who do not know who Danielle Spinelli is, who is Danielle Spinelli?
Thanks. So I am, let's see, who am I? I was in a broker for 8 years. I was in carrier sales. I did that for 8 years. And then I went over to my care portal about 2 years ago now, and then was part of the acquisition back in September. So now I'm part of Descartes. And so kind of been enjoying the tech world and really focused, I guess, mainly on like fraud prevention and my insider knowledge on that. Because whenever I was a broker, I did like copper or electrical wire, like a lot of high value shipments. So my vetting process, like luckily I had an excellent boss who taught me all the tips and tricks and learned things from her. So I get to teach that same thing onto new brokers and existing brokers that we have for customers. So it's been really cool to be a big part of like our development team and innovating things and hearing stories from people and being able to take those stories and change it into like our platform and develop all these cool things. So it's really cool now being on the tech side to be like, what if we did this? And then they're like, whatever they do. And then the next day, like I'll have Paul, our main developer, call me and he's like, hey, I stayed up all night, but I got this going. And you're like, what? So it's really cool.
Yeah. So, and you've been in freight for how many years now?
I think I'm at 10 now, right at 10 years.
10
so
okay. Yeah. What keeps you in it? I love asking this question, especially to people who have done a number of different things in the industry. It's one thing to like stay in brokerage for 10 years or 15 years, but you've been around the block. You've seen quite a few things in the industry. What keeps you in logistics?
I think just the ever-changing world of logistics, like it's never, I know like they'll have trends up and down, but it's really not always the same. Like it's unpredictable. You never really know. I know they always try to predict what the market's going to do, but you don't know. And then just meeting new people. I love meeting new people. I can't get enough. So like when I was a broker, meeting new carriers, developing relationships with them. And then now on the tech side, being able to do these conferences. And then I'm also kind of involved in partnerships. So being able to build those relationships with our tech partners. And so I think that's really what gets me is the people in the industry are just, they're real people too. They'll shoot the crap with you just like everyone else. So I love it.
Yeah. You can say the other word. There's no ratings on the show.
Okay. Like, I was like, are you going to bleep me?
No. If they bleep you, they have to bleep me, and they're not allowed to do that. So
that's awesome.
Very cool. So let's talk about integrations and technology, because obviously technology is one of the things that is driving the industry in the directions that it's going. It's also one of the how do I say it? It's one of the most frustrating pieces of the industry for a lot of people, because there's such a slow adoption rate when it comes to new tech. How has navigating the freight tech space been, and what do you see as the main barriers to adoption? And how do you see that changing, if at all?
I think the main barriers as far as adoption is just there's so much out there, and it's really hard to what is the right call for me. I mean, most of the time you're signing commitments and there's so many different things out there. And now that I'm in the tech world, and like whenever I went to TIA last year and learning all the new stuff that's out, there's so many things that are out there. It's overwhelming, I think, for a lot of people. And then there's a lot of people just really used to like, hey, this has worked for me for 20 years and I'm not changing. And especially like with carriers, I know they really are like not stuck in their ways, I should say, but like it's working for them. They don't see the need to spend more. But really, tech really makes a big difference. Like I've seen companies where their, process time is cutting in like 1/10 of their time is what it's doing. So being able to cover more, take more freight, earn more money. I mean, just my old company alone, whenever we switched to like a platform with my care portal, just the onboarding time being cut by like drastically. I mean, we were able to be finished covering all of our loads by around like 11 a.m. or before it was 4 p.m. And then that opened up a whole afternoon to be able to hunt for new freight and, spot bid on things and find carriers that way. So I think that's the biggest thing is and also brokers really were not very good at sharing secrets. Like, hey, this tech works awesome for me. And, because everyone's their competitors really. So I think that talk has not been a thing. And I think we've been going around, like even with the integrations with tech companies, that's changed a lot where we're all kind of working together. And like Broker Carrier Summit's an excellent place to learn about what other people are doing in tech stacks. So I think that's my take.
Yeah. No, I one of the things I took away from my time as a broker, again, I was a broker for 11 years now, in total. And the paranoia is strong.
Yeah.
Not just between broker to broker, from broker to carrier, carrier to broker. And that's actually one of the things that fed into the impetus for starting the Broker Carrier Summit, was because there's distrust everywhere.
Right.
It's one thing to be competitive and to have competitors, but the level of angst and paranoia and looking over your shoulder in freight is a problem.
It is. And it's not even just fraud. It's literally everything. Like they're just scared that they're going to know this or know that. And I think even on the tech side, like now that I'm on this end, I mean, I get customers ask me all the time, well, what are you doing with this? And do you sell my data and stuff like that? Cause that's of course the big thing. And luckily that's something we do not do at all. And, don't have to have those awkward conversations, but
you don't sell data. You just buy the companies that have their data and incorporate them into your brand. I see how it is.
Yeah. That's what they do. So making it one-stop shop. Yeah.
Very cool. So question for you. What is the most exciting? So you were working with my carrier portal for, you said 2 years, right?
Yeah. I think I'm right. Almost at 2 years now.
Okay. Yep. And you guys were acquired by Descartes last year. How has that process been? integrating with using the integration word again, integrating with the Descartes team. How's that process been?
First of all, the team's awesome. What's crazy with Descartes, because they really gobble up all these companies, almost everybody that I work with has been acquired. And that's how you kind of get in. As an outsider trying to get into Descartes, I think is a lot harder as far as being a new hire. Usually it's from an acquisition. So, and they like whenever they purchase my care portal, they really let our team just keep doing what we're doing. They're like, hey, this works. We just want to, empower you guys to do more. So, basically, for me anyways, I'm in sales, so I got to learn how to sell MacroPoint and Aljax and all that stuff too. So being able to now learn that end of it, and then taking, okay, well, like for instance, MacroPoint data, we now have that into my care portal, kind of version 1, but new stuff's coming. But now that I know it's all out there, like talking to our developers, being like, hey, as a broker, this would be awesome to know about a carrier ahead of time. And now that we're kind of all underneath the same umbrella, you get to see kind of the ins and outs of everything, and brainstorming and innovation and all that fun stuff. So it's been really great.
Yeah. Well, and just your role in and of itself sounds a little new to me, because I remember a time when if you were an Aljax rep, you sold Aljax. You didn't sell MacroPoint. Or if you were a MacroPoint rep, you sold MacroPoint. You didn't sell anything else under the brand. So it's really cool that you have the opportunity to kind of see the broader landscape and sell to where your customers are. Yeah, Jeff Dickinson, that's correct, my friend. A lot of overlap when it comes to innovation. Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of companies, to Jeff's point. He says buyers are tentative about purchasing something that may change in 3 months. That's 100% true. I understand that. I think at the same time, though, the industry, not only on the tech side, but in the broker side and the carrier side as well, we're in a consolidation type of environment right now anyway, coming on the other side of the freight recession, whatever we're calling it now. I don't even know what we're calling it, the post-COVID lull. I think that's just going to, it's going to be the nature of the game for a little while, I think.
Well, I think I look at it in kind of a good way, as long as they're really keeping employees and not just slashing people. I want everybody to have their jobs type thing. But if they're still keeping along the same lines, just having a different, at least from my experience, like what I went through. Because honestly, in the very beginning, I was freaking out. Like, you can ask everybody. I was walking around conferences like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm freaking out. But it turned out to just be so much better. And also because I have that, like, I worked for like a smaller company, even though I'm a large company now, I still get to do kind of all my fun things that I love to do with my care portal, like even like marketing and, all that stuff. So I think just making sure that whenever you do get acquired, your job's safe, and then, making sure that you're the same things that you were doing that were working so great and why they purchased you stay along those same lines, because your customers want that same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Jeff Dickinson, if you're still listening, this shirt, you inspired this shirt purchase, my friend. You see
that
this?
Looks like a Jeff shirt.
I saw it and I'm like, I have to have that, and I have to let Jeff know that I'm wearing it. So I'm glad you're watching today, Jeff. Hope you were well, my friend.
That's so funny. Next, you just gotta grow out the beard, and then you'll look just like him.
Yeah. I don't know if I could ever do that. It's not just the beard. He's got the hair. He's got the chops. He's got all of it. I don't have any of that. I spent too much time in the Marine Corps. Has scared most of my hair, especially up here, away. So, well, that's something interesting too about the M&A market, specifically in the freight tech space in the last few years. I think post-COVID, pre-COVID, we saw a lot of those acquisitions where company would come in, make a purchase, expand their brand, and then just kind of everything would go by the wayside. I think post-COVID, there's been a realization across the industry, and let me know if you agree with this or not. But there's kind of been an understanding that logistics and freight is a niche market. It's very complex. We need to retain the brain trust of people who have been in the industry for a long time. So do you see more of an effort being made by companies like a Descartes when it comes to retaining the talent that is needed to not just build the overall brand, but to continue the trajectory of the brands that they acquire.
Yeah, definitely. And I think really like being a broker or a carrier ahead of time, like having that experience is huge in the tech. I mean, even being able to talk the lingo, like logistics lingo is unlike any other. Like you'll hear whenever I was a sales, when I was a broker, my daughter would be like hopping on the phone with me and like trying to sell. I think she was 11 at the time. But she even knew the lingo just from listening to me. So it's totally different. And you don't get that unless if you have that real experience. And I think a lot of companies have realized that you can't it's not just a regular tech, it's very niche, like you said. So you really need to keep people, there's so much talent in logistics, period. Why not just keep hiring from within? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about integrations for a second, because it was one of the things that people are looking for, especially when it comes to whether it's TMS or track and trace updates, or whether it's integrating with different whether it's nearshoring companies. What is the main conversation point when you have with your prospects or with your customers around integrations? What are people thinking about integrations? How do they view it?
Well, really, the TMS, I think, is the source of all. And so they really want to live in their TMS and not have to jump through tabs, not have to go to this system and have right now, like I have 4 screens. Like they want to have one to 2 screens, focus on that, live there. So I think to me, the TMS companies that are allowing that to happen are the ones that are really thriving right now. And even like that same conversation, like part of our partnerships that we've been doing for our integrations is kind of redid our whole model, where instead of having, you listed on a website alphabetically, just because your name's an A doesn't mean, you're the top recommended partner type thing. So we're just now changing it to where have like a gold status, bronze, silver, so that those that really do put the time and effort into the integration and want like our customers to really be able to do all the things necessary within their TMS and stay up to date. Like that's a huge thing because we're innovating all the time. Those are the ones that we're going to really push on our side. So, and like you said, like if you're putting that much time and effort into your product, then we know you'll do the same thing for our mutual customers. So,
yeah. Well, let's talk about the product for a second, because when you and I first met, were you at My Carrier Portal then, or were you there? Were you somewhere else before?
Nope, I was with My Carrier Portal. That was the first time I was in and around conferences and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. So My Carrier Portal is one of the brands that is changing the dynamic between brokers and carriers, specifically how they are vetted. So talk to us a little bit about the product, where the idea of the product came from, and how MCP is different than other vetting profiles or platforms. Sorry.
So we originated so Jay kind of was part of the like RMIS team, the DAT team, and kind of stepped away from them and started what we call Assure Assist, which is like our insurance monitoring. So it's kind of like our strongest part of the My Care Portal is our insurance monitoring, because that's where we started. And so that at the time was given to like Safer and DAT, and I can't really remember all the other ones, but at that time. And then whenever Jay decided to add on the onboarding piece, that kind of all got separated. And then we became My Care Packets, now My Care Portal. Really the change between My Care Portal or Packets and Portal was because of all the fraud that we saw from 2020, or really it's kind of always been going on, but really starting then, having to rechange our whole thought process and making sure that beginning step, whenever you're first talking to that carrier, that you have that protection built in. So that's why we changed, to My Care Portal. And so kind of where I think we stand out the most is whenever we are doing development and we're, doing anything as far as for like our paying customers, a broker or shipper, we're also having conversations with carriers as well. Like, hey, if we add this process in, what are your thoughts on this? Or how can we make things easier for you? Like right now I'm going to Matt's on Thursday, Friday, Saturday to just simply talk to carriers and get their feedback. I think that's super important because as a broker and shipper, those are your customers. So you want a tech that really cares about them, because even though they're not paying for it, they still have to use it day in, day out. So their process, I know, is, as far as what I hear anyways, and whenever I was a broker, that's carriers really prefer My Care Portal. And so we want to keep standing out in that way. So.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you guys did that I thought was really cool is, and I haven't seen this until you guys did it, is you partnered with our friend Dale over at Freight Validate, and
Hmm.
you kind of you combined the capabilities of the freight sourcing or the carrier sourcing platform of My
Yep.
Carrier Portal with the vetting capabilities of Freight Validate. Up until
Yeah.
that point, I think that those two things were never really combined, and I think that what you guys did with that was really instrumental in moving the conversation forward into what carrier onboarding actually should look like.
Right. And I definitely don't think it's black and white, as far as carrier vetting. That's why, like our training program, we kind of focus on, hey, if they do have these certain red flags, like this is the conversation you should be having after that point, and the different vetting tools that we have, like in our platform that you can follow to be able to really know who you're working with. So yeah, with Dale Prax and his Freight Validate product being part of my care portal, really you're getting a full 360 on a carrier. The like Freight Validate's checking, how do they register with FMCSA? Because unfortunately, FMCSA is not doing the best job at that. How do they register? Are they actually compliant with all the laws out there? Dale knows more laws than I think lawyers do on the FMCSA stuff. So
Yeah,
luckily
I think
he,
Dale scares transportation attorneys. I think he really does
oh
in,
yeah.
in the best possible way.
Every time I talk to him, I mean, I'm like writing down as many notes as I can because I learned so much from, because I don't know how he knows all this information, but he must study it all the
Yeah,
time. And yeah.
Dale's one of those guys. I love Dale. He teaches
Mhm.
you without realizing he's teaching you things because
Yeah.
he knows so much and how to navigate that space. It's pretty intense.
So even like with his platform, though, what was cool is like whenever we first added his stuff to our platform, I mean, there was a ton of carriers who are getting that red X from him because they were using virtual addresses. And
Mhm.
there's companies that have been in business for like 30 plus years that were using virtual address. And they just didn't know. Like I didn't even know that was illegal. So instead of Dale being like, well, because you have that, it's a big no-no, bye, he then taught them, hey, this is the steps that you take with FMCSA. This is how you do it. If you're having a hard time, let me know. He'll even reach out to his FMCSA contacts, get it pushed through faster, and then making them be compliant, and then thus giving them the green light. So he has that capability, which is, I just think, huge. Like if you're going to lie to the government, you're probably going to lie to me. That whole kind of philosophy, especially after we got
That is sound
that
logic. Yes.
initial push of like those good guys that just didn't know. We kind of cleaned those guys out. So that part of it. And then my care portal has the whole, how do they look after they've been running for a while as far as safety, insurance information. And then we have all of our reporting tools. So like the my care portal community kind of all talking to each other, all of our customers. And then now with like MacroPoint data, we just got that put in. Gosh, I think it was like last week. So now you can see like how many times did this carrier get requests to be tracked on, what's their tracking percentage. So really knowing like how does this guy handle my freight after I give it to him, and how many people are they actually working with? Because I think that's a big, indicator as to like if they like let's say sold their MC, they have a ton of trucks, they let it sit for a while. Last 6 months of tracking was nothing. That's suspicious. So really knowing 360 view on who you're working with.
Yeah. And how did you guys get connected? You with My Carrier Portal and Freight Validate?
I believe through Tom and Dale. I actually don't know the whole story. I know Tom and Dale are pretty close, and so I think that's kind of how the initial conversation started. He introed him to Jay, and then that kind of whole spinoff really believed in what he was doing. So it was very cool. Like we were in talks for a long time before the integration actually officially happened. But once that officially happened, it's yeah, made a big difference. And now it's like included with our being a new customer with My Care Portal. So
Yeah. Yeah, I confess I have not been on the platform for it'll be almost a year. It's almost a year now since I rotated out of the brokerage. So
yeah,
I'd love to see a demo at some point. I think it'd be
for
really cool
sure.
to jump back in there and see how it's
Yeah, ton.
grown and how it's
This past year has been insane. I mean, the changes that have happened. Like my favorite thing is, and I mean, I can talk about my product all day long. By the way, we don't have to talk about this, but VIN verification. So it's kind of like because to me, like I said, it's not black and white. You don't really know who you're dealing with. There can be instances where, well, this is the last truck out there. I'm desperate. What do I do to kind of give me an extra due diligence check mark? So we have a VIN verification where you send a driver a text, they send a picture of their truck showing their VIN number. We tell you who exactly that truck belongs to, and then where is that truck. So really knowing who you're dealing with on a driver basis rather than just the whole company. That's to me is a game changer, and it really helps you know who you're actually talking to. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a little lighthearted. Have you heard of Bubba?
Bubba?
Bubba. Yeah. I was reading an
No.
article. I'm gonna put it in the, can I put it in the chat here? I can't do that. Okay. Anyway, there's an autonomous dispatcher named Bubba
Oh my
AI.
God.
So
That's
there's
good.
the whole conversation around dispatch services. Sorry, this is my
Mm-hmm.
ADD brain jumping from topic to topic.
No,
I
I'm
don't
on
even
the
know
same page.
how. I don't even know how we got there from what you were talking about, but for some reason I thought my mind went to dispatch services. So this is automatic or automated AI dispatcher for independent truckers and small carriers. So now AI. Now we're not working with dispatchers. We're working with AI. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and even carriers calling into brokerages that have the AI function too, like Wirebee, Vuma. I don't even know all the ones out there actually. Front, all that type of
There's
stuff.
so many.
There's
I
so
was
many parade. Yeah, it's like
I
you're
was
just dealing with.
overwhelmed.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
was overwhelmed at Manifest, but
Me
like
too.
there were literally thousands of companies
Yes, I
of
know. That first
that.
day walking in, I was like, where do I start? And then second day, I
Yeah,
kind of like honing in. I had a game plan when I walked in there, which is just another plug at Broker Care Summit. That's why I love not having to deal with like the kiosk feeling of a show. You're like actually learning. I can't talk about you guys enough. I say it all the time. I just had you guys on my webinar because I love your guys' show. It's great. It's not so I don't have to be like I don't know, a guy waiting, to hound you at like I said, a mall kiosk. I get to like have real conversations with people. So that's
yeah,
kind of what it's all about.
yeah. That's one of the most fun things. Honestly, that's what people go to trade shows to do.
Right.
They go to network. They want to have conversations. They want to have authentic conversations. I'm not gonna knock. I used to knock. I'm not gonna knock the big booths and the exhibit halls and all that. There is 1,000,000% a place for those in
Right.
any industry, especially in freight, especially as tech forward as the freight industry is becoming. There's definitely a place for exhibit halls and booths and all that.
Right. I
I think
agree.
one of the things that we need to do though, when it comes to events in the spaces, everybody needs to know what the purpose of their event is and tailor what they're doing to the purpose of their event. And for the BCS's part, we're not an exhibit
Yeah.
place. We're a place where brokers and carriers come to make connections, form partnerships, and become more profitable.
Right.
And I love the fact that all the tech companies and the TMSs, the factoring companies, the vetting platforms, everybody is by their attendance and by the number of sponsors that we have for the summits. Everyone's displaying how all in they are on broker carrier relationships getting repaired and
Yeah.
unscrewed. Let's just call it that way.
Well, and even just the conversations of, this like every carrier that goes in there and every broker that's in there is a vetted carrier and broker. Hey Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up,
And
Dale?
since they're all, vetted, that to me is huge. Like, hey, I run this lane to this lane. Where are you from? That just was the genuine connections. And then kind of like one of the tracks I know. So Descartes sponsoring the tech track. And so
Yes.
one of the things that we're talking about is how to build like a winning tech track or tech stack. I mean, for brokers and carriers, I think both are super important because you, as like a smaller broker or smaller carrier, I mean, you don't know, at all. So I think
Yeah.
having just like you're not being bombarded with this. Like I know whenever we're kind of our game plan for going out there talking is, hey, you need a TMS, you need this, you need that, not specific names. Like you guys do the research. I think there's so many different tech companies out there. You kind of get a feel for what your mission as a broker or carrier is, but just knowing where to start. Like I wouldn't even know where to start if I just started my own thing. Well, now I do, I guess, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't have known prior to. So
Well, and that's so true. As a bootstrap founder of a brokerage,
Mhm.
I can tell you that technology is the most intimidating piece of building a logistics or transportation company. Just the word tech stack itself. It's like, I didn't even know I needed a stack. I knew I knew I needed a thing. I needed a platform. I needed a tool. But I got to stack these up now. If I have to stack them up, that means they all have to work together. They can't be pulling from disparate sources of data. They can't be competing for bandwidth in different ways. It's daunting. And at the end of the day, I think brokers and carriers, they just want to operate.
Yeah.
They just want to do what they were brought on to do. And tech is this giant intimidating thing for them. Talk to us about when it comes to, and I know you're going to unpack this more at the BCS, but what are some of the things that you'll touch on when it comes to building out a high quality tech stack? Or even how do you, even as a carrier or a small carrier or a small broker, how do you envision even start that process?
Yeah, to me, the brokerage side, honestly, that we have some better specialists that can tell us more on the carrier side. I know more on the brokerage side, but on like the brokerage side, I mean, if you're like, hey, my MC starting tomorrow, what do I need? You need, like, the bare minimum to me is a TMS, an onboarding and vetting service, especially nowadays. It's crucial. I know, like, Jeff's on here and I know Jeff does it manually, but if you're a one-man show, you need things to help you move quickly.
Jeff's also worked with the same carriers for like 45 years.
Right. So. I mean, he goes and has dinner with them every day. We get it. No,
tell me I'm wrong, Jeff. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. So that, and then I think you need, where am I at here? Those two, and then a tracking system. Like, you just need to make your process be so, like, like, just mindless. Like, I don't want to have to call this guy. Oh shoot, I forgot to do this. I woke up in the middle of the night. Oh my God, I forgot to do that. And I need to update my customer this. Like, as a beginning carrier or broker, you need those tools that are just automated to get, like, those simple tasks that really any tech can do. Now, what I do think is kind of, I guess, like, scary to me is the whole AI part, like, kind of like we were talking about with the making the calls and doing that type of stuff. Me, as like a previous carrier sales rep, I know there's some that just kind of replace the jobs. I don't love that. I like it when they enhance jobs. Like, I love, I want everybody to have a job, so I want it where this tool makes my job easier and I can be way quicker at it. So I can do all these other things that would generate me more money or my business more money. So I think that's whenever you're looking at a tech stack, those are the type of things you should look into. And of course, the AI stuff is huge. And if you can't afford a whole new employee, I mean, it's great. And that's why it's there. But
that brings up an interesting question. I think one of the foundational questions when it comes to technology and AI and the future of freight is that yes, you want the tech to do a lot of the mindless, behind the scenes, repetitive things, but you don't want to give too much power and too much relationship status over to the AI, over to the bots. What does that line, that balance look like from a tech perspective, from a broker perspective or a carrier perspective, when it comes to how do we utilize this new, extremely powerful, extremely versatile type of technology?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, I wish I had all the answers for that, because it really depends on your business, which is hard to say it like that. But some people, they're growing so fast that they cannot even hire fast enough, and they have to have something that's making things automated. But like you said, to me, all the automation, as far as like having a relationship with a carrier, which is why Jeff has been so successful. He has those relationships, and that's huge as far as, it's Friday afternoon and somebody just fell off my load, but I know my boy Joe over here is going to be there and he'll hook me up. I mean, that doesn't happen with AI. It doesn't. Like, you're calling in favors. So I think both is important to have. Like I kind of mentioned before, I think AI should enhance you. Like, I'll just do a shameless plug to Wirebee. They have it where whenever you're calling into like a brokerage, you give them their MC and then it tells you, like, can I work with this carrier? Can I not? And then transfers the call whether or not they can work with them. So avoiding the guys that, hey, I would just immediately say, hey, I'm not working with you. Bye. Like, avoiding those calls and then being able to focus on the ones that you really want to work with. So I think it depends on the company, but also I think making sure that AI is enhancing, not replacing.
Yeah, well, I think, and Jeff is saying something similar too. He said things have changed. I truly believe in building sustainable relationships between carriers and shippers,
Mhm.
in it for the long game. You have to know, and this is important. This is one of the things Jeff is really good at communicating. He said you must know how to collaborate while listening intently. And one, I don't think you can do that. Well, I know you can't do that with a bot.
Right.
You can't have a relationship with a bot, but you also can't do that as well as you would like to do that simply by operating out of your email inbox or through transaction-based phone calls over loads. I think that's
Right.
one of the reasons why the BCS is what it is and is becoming the juggernaut of a movement that it is in the industry, is because we're restoring the opportunity for people to actually have uh, actual conversations and build those relationships and those partnerships in ways that people have historically built them.
Right. The one thing I learned from Broker Care Summit, I think it was the one in Kansas City, was somebody was saying in the crowd that their philosophy is after a carrier has done, I want to say it was like 5 loads. They've done 5 loads, they've had no issues with them. At that point, it triggers an alert to their team of whoever handles that customer lane to call that carrier, and then it triggers a whole, they have to build that relationship and try to make that be like a core
Mm-hmm.
carrier. And that is another example, like having that tech behind it to notify you, hey, by the way, this is number 5. Let's start having that conversation, or whatever number you want to do it at. But to me,
Yeah.
because broker and carriers have a hard time trusting each other. So if you don't know them in person at the Broker Care Summit, having like, hey, I can trust you because you've done X amount of freight for me. Let's keep talking.
Yeah.
I think having that, and then really knowing, because it, to me, I said, I was a carrier sales rep, so I'm all pro carrier sales rep, but that is so important as far as building those relationships with those carriers. To me, it's crucial in taking your freight that much further. Even like having the tools of, rate, knowing the rates and stuff like that, talking to like my main guy, like, hey, I know you're going to hook me up with a good rate. If I gave you this lane, what would you do it for? Because at the end of the day, you have to find a carrier that will do it. So I think having both those things is important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and you know who really is excited to hear about that? The
So,
freaking carriers.
yeah,
Say
right.
what you're telling me, that brokers actually have intentional processes built in so they can actually create deeper relationships with their carriers. If you
Yeah,
ask 9 out of 10 carriers who operate almost exclusively with broker customers, none of them would know that.
right.
And if not only would none of them know that, most of them would think the exact opposite. And
Or they would really know who does do that, because those are the ones that reaches out to
or
them. You know
that
what I mean? Right.
Absolutely. One of the things we talk about, this is one of our 10 commandments or 10 rules of successful freight partnerships, is people make relationships with other people. Make relationships with the person on the other end of the phone, not
Right.
only the brand behind them.
Right.
There's a really cool story. One of the things that I did when I was a broker back over at TQO was I would call my carrier, like my primary carrier, I called it, first thing every morning, and say, how many trucks do you got? And they
Yeah.
had already bid on all of my lanes. They already knew all of their rates. They knew all of my rates. To be
Right.
honest, I love, despite coming out against coerced transparency, I am a huge fan of voluntary transparency. Um,
Yeah. Me too.
when it comes to carriers and brokers, if you can voluntarily share your rates with your carriers and with your shippers, and everybody's on the same page and everybody knows they're winning, that's the best situation ever. But I would always call them and say, hey, what do you have capacity wise? I have these loads today, or I have these loads this week. When can you take them? That was about 15 different phone calls a week that they didn't have to make, about 500 phone calls a week that I didn't have to make as a broker.
Right. Yeah. And
Um,
it maybe took up your first hour of your day, but what were you doing anyways? Just sitting there talking to your coworkers. You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah. Well, I did the
exactly.
same thing and then followed up. Like I had my very first trainer for whatever became a rep, was they were like, every time you build a relationship with a carrier, I want you to ask 3 things. You need to know where they live at, what's their family life like, and like their company goals or something like that. I can't remember everything, but I always knew like, hey, how's your kid, Susie, whatever, what's going on with that? And then being able to, because I'm a mom, so being able to relate on that level too, just finding something to be able to talk about outside of freight too. Because at the end of the day, if you have, a load of this or whatever, the first person you're going to think about is your friend rather than, a computer system or whatever. So,
yeah. Well, something else too. Another question I learned to ask was a lot of my drivers. I used to ask all the time, "What's the name of your dog?"
Yeah,
I didn't even know if they had a dog, but chances
Yeah.
are, if I asked the question, they had a dog.
Yeah.
And they would just talk for like half an hour about their lab or whatever they had it with them in their truck, because that's their buddy, that's their companion. They're with them all day in the truck.
Right. Yeah,
But
exactly.
it shows that personal approach that a lot of people again were craving in this industry.
Yeah. Well, especially
People,
drivers too. I mean, they're sitting there by themselves for hours, they want to talk. And sometimes you'll open up that door and then you're like, hey, I actually have to work now. I gotta let you go. But yeah, I haven't, but at least they know like, hey, someone's listening to me and someone cares. I mean, you have to be, you're still a person. They're all people, like you said. So
yeah. Well, I remember a specific conversation that my wife and I had one time. I just gotten off the phone with a driver, and we didn't talk about the load they were under at all. He is called just to shoot the shit for like
yeah,
30 minutes. And my wife was like, "Is that really like, is that a good use of your time? You're on the clock and all that." I'm like, "Babe, honestly, that was probably the best phone call that
right.
driver's going to have today."
Yeah,
And so, yeah, it is. It's one of the things that people overlook a lot of times in this industry. Is, again, we're an industry full of people, and
right.
people need to be treated like people. Um,
And
so
not only that, but you learn so much when you're having those relationships in those 30-minute chats about nothing. I mean, you at least learn
mhm,
like, hey, the drivers are going through this at the docks, or hey, whenever he did my load for this was frustrating for him, or this. And then
yeah,
learning from that, I'm like, what can we do differently? What kind of conversations can I have with my shipper? Just all that stuff. And then even like as a sales person, I guess like I'm learning this is their pain point. So like me selling something like, hey, can you take this load for this? This customer is really great at loading or whatever. Like I know different things to help me. So even though it just feels like you're just chit chatting, you're really learning so much just about different things in the industry.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, Danielle, it's 2025. We are a quarter in almost. What are you most excited about, and what do you think we can expect from the industry as a whole and from freight tech specifically? More acquisitions, maybe?
Well, I think a lot of those have happened Q1. So I think I
Yeah.
hopefully we're at a pause now because that's kind of been a roller coaster. But no, I really think the working together is going to get more and more. I mean, at the beginning of last year to the end of last year, that was a huge thing. So I think that's still going to keep pushing. I know like on my side, as far as the freight stuff, like I really love talking to even like my competitors, like, hey, what are you guys hearing? Just that stuff, like we're all in this together, especially for like fighting fraud, like that we all want the fraud to go away, even though that, it's helping us sell our product, it's still like crippling people.
Mhm.
So I think just the collaboration, I think we'll keep getting better. On that's kind of where I think, new stuff. And then as far as the industry, I mean, people have been telling me they're doing better and better out there. So I'm excited because I'm going to customers. I think in May. I think that's kind of when my conference season slows down. So I'm planning to go to Kansas City and then go out there and sit and sell some loads and get on the phones. And I'm so excited for that. So yeah,
Very cool. Yeah,
yeah.
it's surprising to me how many people think that I'm from Kansas City, because their first experience at the summit was in Kansas City, and so they assume that I'm from Kansas City.
Yeah, it's like it's just Trey, and he's obsessed with it.
Yeah,
We all know that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you want to continue to fight fraud, one of the best ways that I'm going to do a shameless plug here towards the end, one of the best ways to fight fraud is to actually sit across the table from actual carriers and from actual brokers who are not going to rip you off, who are not full of crap, who are not trying to steal anyone's identity, double broker loads, triple broker loads, or steal anything from anyone. They're just trying to do honest, good work, and they're trying to be the best they can be for themselves, for their partners, and for their families. So if you want to join the BCS Freight Network, if you want to join us at the Broker Carrier Summit, April 28th, to May 2nd. We'd love to see you there. Only the best people in freight are going to be there, people. So all the scumbags are not going to be there. All the unofficial certified scumbags. Yes, only certified nut scumbags need to apply because everybody else will be shown the door. But no, seriously, the best network in freight is growing. And at Descartes and Danielle and My Carrier Portal are all a part of it, as are Dale and Jeff, who are contributing to the conversation today as well. And Coleman. I saw Coleman here at the beginning commenting on your shirt. Sick shirt, Danielle, he says.
I know. I saw it. Also, besides all of that, because I love to work hard, but I love to play hard. It's super fun at Broker Carrier Summit. So that's, I think, a great way to like meet people and like have like so much fun. Like every time I leave, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did this, this, and this, and whatever. So it's a good time.
Yeah. Well, and for the loyal ones that are sticking around and listening right now, I have a special thing that I want to say specifically to the fun part. So we just finalized the details of our final event party of the summit. We're calling it our loaded and rolling party because after we leave, everyone's going to be loaded and rolling. That is not a beverage joke. That is not. We're not trying to say, "Hey, come here, get loaded." That was another one of the possible titles. But one of the things we're going to be doing is it's going to be at the Dallara Event Center. And if anybody knows who Dallara is, they are the exclusive manufacturer of IndyCar and F1 race car chassis. And their headquarters is in Speedway, Indiana, literally 2 blocks from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They have an event center. Our final farewell party is going to be there. And we have a branded BCS IndyCar that we're going to be rolling out. We're not sponsoring it. We're not loaded. Not loaded. To sponsor an actual car, but we were able to get one wrapped for the 2 or 3 hours of the event. So we're going to have that, and we're also going to have 4 or 5, I think, racing simulators. So it's going to be May 1st in Indianapolis. If you want to kick off race month in the place of the Indianapolis 500 and try your hand at racing a virtual Indy car, that will be happening at the Loaded and Rolling Party of the final night of the Broker Carrier Summit. So come for the networking, stay for the education, and stay longer for the fun.
And I'll be winning that race because I'm a speed racer. Let me tell you, I beat my Google Maps time almost every time. So
I don't think it's the speed with those cars; it's the handling. I was at the Charlotte, what is it? The NASCAR Hall of Fame. And I was like, oh yeah, I got this. And like the first turn, I was all over the freaking place because it's so crazily tuned.
Well, I hit curbs, so I mean, I hit curbs like on the regular driving basis, so we'll be fine.
No, kill it. Yeah,
whatever.
You're used to it. Just drive through the grass.
Just keep driving. No the rims you can replace rims. It's fine.
It's fine. No worries at all.
Yeah.
So, all right, Danielle. Well, I look forward to seeing you soon, my friend. I'll be at TIA. Oh, real quick before we get off here, TIA, we are having our not our next stop. Our next stop at the Broker Carrier Summit Big Road Tour is going to be at Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville, Kentucky on the 28th at a Tavern on 4th after the main concert.
Oh, at Matt's?
At Matt's, yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to be there.
Yeah,
Send
so
me the information. What in the world?
Yeah. Trey and Bane will be there. I will not be there. That's my anniversary weekend. And my wife has told me many, many times I am not allowed to hang out with truck drivers on my anniversary. I'm still trying to figure out why. But she has told me that. Yes. And then our next one is going to be actually at TIA. We're kind of following the conference circuit. And so we'll be rolling out details of that here in a little while. So
fun. Yeah. Look for me at TIA too. I'll be at Matt's TIA Broker Care Summit. I think I'm also doing like a fraud one somewhere. So
yeah. So much fun.
So fun.
All right. Very cool, Danielle. Well, thank you again for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.